NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying, presented by Ford Performance. Time for some NASCAR here on NBCSN at Michigan International Speedway. And ready to get things rolling, where being up front is paramount. Is your driver in, or is your favorite driver out? Well, there is still time left, but time is running out. Just 4 races until the playoffs, and those drivers who are in tight spots know exactly how important this weekend on the 2-mile Michigan track really is. Hi folks, Lee Diffie once again filling in for Rick Allen, who is in London at the World Track and Field Championships. Of course, the Mayor, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte. Jeff, when we think about speed and when the fans think about top speeds in NASCAR, plate tracks, restrictor plate tracks, Daytona, Talladega come to mind, but there's actually higher speeds here. What's that like as a driver?
Well, it's much higher speeds here. In a Daytona and Talladega, you just run wide open, you hold the throttle wide open, anybody can drive it in qualifying trim. Well, that's not the case here. There's a lot of throttle input, there's brake input, there's wheel input, and you ask a lot out of the car. And as we saw in practice with Kyle Busch, if you ask too much out of the car, you can get into the wall. So it's completely different here. It's faster here, and it's way more complicated.
Well, it's not just an average speed thing either, Lee. We're talking top speeds over 215 miles an hour entering the corner. So while the average speed is high, to get an average speed over 200, the top speeds are remarkable.
So put your crew chief hat on. 5 of the last 8 races here have been won from the pole position. As I said, it's paramount to be up front. What do? How do you get your driver in that position?
Well, I think it comes down to confidence and security in that race car. As Jeff mentioned, you have to really commit. So when you think about running a lap where the average speed is so high, that means the bottom speed, the minimum speed that we don't talk about much, it's also very high. Well, they'll only dip down to about 190 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. So while 215 seems fast on the straightaway, 190 miles an hour in the middle of the corner is really unreal. And you really have to have a car with a great amount of downforce. A lot of aerodynamics come into play at speeds like this, and the driver's going to lean on those aerodynamics to have confidence to stay in the throttle as long as they need to.
The man in between Steve and I sat on the pole here, by the way, before. That was good. Happy memories there. Let's talk about no. Let's talk about speed, because Ryan Blaney in the 21 had plenty of it this morning with an average lap speed. When you think about it, first session out, just under an hour and a half for that initial practice, Jeff. Average lap speed of 203 miles an hour. The 21 looked good.
Yeah, no surprises. Ryan Blaney has shown speed pretty much everywhere we've gone. Last week on the road course, he was fast. So Ryan Blaney has proven to be a guy that you're going to have to contend with to potentially win this championship. And they're going to have to really step it up to win the championship. But having versatility is going to matter. Being able to run well at a lot of different kind of racetracks can serve a team very, very well. And that's what this team is showing they can do.
And I think we're going to talk about the battle of the manufacturers. Right now, we're talking about Ford with Ryan Blaney. We're going to compare them to Toyota and to Chevrolet. We're right down the road from Detroit, where all the manufacturers are based. So it's going to be a conversation about manufacturers. And when you think of manufacturers in the Blue Oval, you have to think of probably the Blue Oval everybody's focused on the most, and that's the 22 of Joey Logano. He is the biggest name, perhaps, on the outside looking in, 95 points below that cut line. I think this 22 team is in a must-win situation, and Joey basically told Jeff and I that himself. We caught him in the garage, and he talked about Watkins Glen, the pit call, the aggression on the pit box, and he supported it. He said it's needed because at 95 points out, you're looking to have 2 huge points weekends to even have a chance. So they're looking at a must-win out of the 22.
And Logano's had 2 wins here, but he hasn't had speed lately. If he's going to win here this weekend, they're going to have to step up compared to how they've been running over the last several months.
Can Todd Gordon and Joey Logano find the speed right here? We'll talk to some of the drivers before we go fast when it counts most. Welcome back to Michigan, getting ready for qualifying for this weekend's Pure Michigan 400. Let's head to the pit road. Marty Snyder.
Well, Diff, in practice this morning, they were chasing this young man, young Ryan Blaney, as we like to call him, 203 miles an hour. How on the edge is a lap like that at Michigan? We saw Kyle Busch barely step out of the way and or step off line and win into the wall.
Yeah, you're on the edge for sure when you're running that fast around here. And these cars are, this is probably one of the fastest racetracks that we go all season, and qualifying trim especially. And it's a little bit hotter right now. The sun came out, so speeds might slow down a little bit. But I think our car is pretty fast. We were pretty happy with it unloading, and we're able to make really small changes. And I've always enjoyed this racetrack. It's a big weekend for Ford and everybody in Motorcraft. And we have SKF on the car this weekend, which is nice to always have them on board. But we'll see in qualifying if I can back that up. But it's definitely pretty sketchy, and you're on the edge the whole time.
With the sun coming out, as you mentioned, is that going to make it even sketchier, to use your word?
A little bit, yeah. Everyone knows when sun comes out, it creates heat, and heat in the racetrack, it makes it not as grippy, and you're always looser. So hopefully we can change a little bit, judging on how hot it's been, and we'll see. But usually after the first round, you can get a good feel for your race car and kind of go from there.
All right, we'll see if Ryan Blaney is able to back it up. As he mentioned, 203 miles an hour in practice this morning, Lee.
Well, and Lee, there's a lot of reasons you want to qualify well here at Michigan. You know, 5 of the last 8 races were won from the pole, but a lot of that is when it comes to pit stall 1. Pit stall 1 is so close to the camera here. It's statistically probably the best pit stall of the circuit. All you have to basically do is drop the jack and roll forward, and you win the race off pit road. And that race off pit road is important because then you have lane choice when it comes to restarts. You can then start on the outside, which is without a doubt, Jeff, the most preferred lane here at Michigan.
We've seen lane choice make huge differences in who can win this race and who gets good finishes. Here in June in 2017, see Denny Hamlin on the bottom, Kyle Larson on the outside. The inner turn 1, everything looks pretty equal. Well, it was pretty equal, no big deal. The 11 car just a little bit ahead of the 42, so the 11 car, as it's traveling through the air, has a lot of side force. The car is being pushed to the left in the back of the car. It makes grip. 42 car is really not hampering anything because he hasn't got far enough on him. But as they advance into the corner, Steve, things change.
Well, yeah, that's the entire goal. The goal is to not only gain an advantage out of the restart zone, but you have to use this air as we go back into the NASCAR Heat 2 wind tunnel. It shows us how right now the 11 has all that side force that you discussed, all that air going on the rear spoiler. So Kyle Larson's going to pull up next to the 11. As he pulls up, look what it does. It takes that air off the side of the 11, off the deck lid of the 11, basically putting Denny Hamlin at a huge disadvantage while the 42 still has the advantage of that side force.
So the 42 has disadvantaged the 11, and he has advantaged himself. So on a restart or any time in the race, that is a huge advantage. Now you have the outside lane, the preferred lane. The 11 car does not. He gets the air taken off. Look at the slowness of the 11 car. The 24 gets by. The 22 has to check up to keep him running in the back of him. All that was because of the lane choice they had. Kyle Larson had the lane he wanted. Denny Hamlin did not have the lane he wanted.
That brings you back to today, Lee. Qualify well, gives yourself a great pit stall, which will help you on those restarts.
It is key here in Michigan. We're going to qualify when we come back. Did you know it's not too late to join a NASCAR fantasy team this season, and it's easy to get started? Just pick 5 drivers and sign up to start earning points today. Compete against friends and family, or you can join a public league. Great prizes are available. Visit NASCAR.com/fantasy. It's as simple as that to get started right now. Yes, we're in the beautiful Irish Hills of Michigan. The drive out here from the airport is just beautiful. These were pretty beautiful drives as well. Look at the speeds and remind yourself that these are the average lap speeds for qualifying over the years. This place is brutally fast, but so exciting. And just 8 weeks ago, Kyle Larson with the pole of a average lap speed of in excess of 202 miles an hour. We've seen speeds in excess of that already today, with Ryan Blaney in the 21 went a 203.5 miles per hour. Let's get this multi-phase qualifying going. And the first car out on track is Matt Kenseth.
To make this qualifying even more complicated, based on practice, we expect speeds to pick up as the runs go on. So if you may lay a good lap time down, you better make sure it's a very good lap time before you just sit and not make another run in Q1, because we saw cars go out about every time they went out, they went a little quicker. So teams are going to have to stay on their feet today to make sure they don't get bumped out.
If you weren't with us earlier for the opening practice session, the 18 of Kyle Busch, who had plenty of speed and was actually second on the speed charts. Steve, he had a pretty healthy glance with the wall exiting turn 2, so it'll be interesting to see how the 18 performs this evening.
Yeah, I mean, a little earlier, you and myself and Jeff took a lap around here in the pace car, and it just surprised both of us just how long the corners were here at Michigan. And you have to be so committed to the throttle to make that type of lap time. And instantly we see Kevin Harvick, he's run a 35.94. That's the top of the charts currently. Well, in practice, he had run a 77. So much like you said, Jeff, I would expect that the majority of the top 24 are going to have to do this twice, because as tires heat up, lap times are going to get quicker.
Ty Dillon slots into the 4th spot. Harvick, Kenseth, Newman spoke with Ryan briefly earlier, was not pleased with the 31 from this morning's opening practice session. We'll see what he can do here in qualifying.
So Earnhardt Jr. there in third, but a 36.32. Just for reference, a 36.32 in practice would have put you 21st. So speeds are going to pick up here as they run more laps. We're certain. How fast do you have to go so you don't have to run a second time? That's the question. You don't want to have to run twice, but you may be forced to.
First time to Michigan this year for Aric Almirola in the 43. Remember, he was out. Bubba Wallace was behind the wheel of the 43 back in June.
You see the Kasey Kahne in the 5 car there, that silver and black car. Big news this week. It was announced at Hendrick Motorsports that Kasey Kahne will not be driving this car next year. And then subsequently, a couple days after that, they announced the replacement of William Byron to take that seat. So now the question is where Kasey Kahne ends up, what car he'll be driving in 2018.
And interesting that Rick Hendrick made it a point to say, hey, I'm going to try to help Kasey Kahne continue his career. I'm going to try to do my best to find a place for him. So it's an interesting comment that, you know, listen, sometimes things don't work out. You know, things don't work out in business all the time, but you can still leave and still respect each other, be friends, and still try to help each other. And that's what that sounded like to me.
Let's take a ride with Chase Elliott.
He's got a lap going right here.
There you go. You just rode with him to the finish of the fastest lap so far, early in stage 1. 201.2 miles an hour.
And I think they'll be happy with that, Steve. That's about what they ran in practice. I think in this first run, if you can run what you ran in practice, I think that's a win.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence that basically Elliott, Harvick, Kenseth, those 3 are going to make it through with those lap times. It starts to get quite a bit more questionable from the 3 of Austin Dillon and Earnhardt Jr. back. I just don't know if those lap times will hold up as multiple runs, you know, tires heat up and grip goes up.
Fresh from a career best. Daniel Suarez on screen. Let's check in with Marty.
Well, to your point, Steve, I think the 4 will make it through as well, but they're preparing as if they may not make it through. Kevin Harvick, after his run, said actually was not very good, a little bit slower from practice. So they're a little concerned down here, like what we have been talking about, that several teams may go rerun. You see Eric Jones come close to Kevin Harvick there, so I think they'll be okay here, but they're thinking that run might not be quite what they wanted in that 4 car. It's a little bit slower than practice.
It's going to be, they're going to have to pay attention to it, but I agree with you, Steve. I think that they'll be safe.
Well, I think that's what makes this 4 team so good. Kevin Harvick, Rodney Childers. They're always on the offensive. They're always thinking they have to do better, have to do more. I think that's at least the mindset. Even if it's unnecessary for this first round, it's better off that they're pushing the limits, trying to get there. As we see Martin Truex Jr. sparking a little bit off those right side skirts. That's not something that is outside of the ordinary here qualifying.
Truex grabs the 4th spot. 36.0, just a shave under 200 miles per hour. Jeff, Steve was mentioning earlier, you so kindly took us around in the new Camaro for more than a lap, several laps, which was really good. But you explained when we were coming down here to turn 3, and it was mind-blowing. For those speeds, so when we saw Ryan Blaney turn a 2:03 average lap speed this morning, just how long they're in the corners.
Yeah, these corners are long, and you can hear by the in-car camera how long he's in the corner. I mean, in the gas. He was carried a lot of speed. 35.69 goes to P1, so
good
just
lap,
a lot of speed through the middle of the corner.
Clint Boyer on track. Lap tracker sees him at the moment half a second off. So that's at the moment good enough for 8th. Remember, the field of 39 here this weekend in Michigan gets pared down to 24 before we transition to the 2nd segment of qualifying.
We have a great shot. You talk about riding around Michigan. Well, we get a chance to do that. As we ride along, listen to the throttle and watch his wheel. 213 into turn 3. Just a great shot, Lee. That just shows it. And you heard him get out of the throttle. He didn't just jump out of the throttle. He came out of the throttle slowly, but he went back to the throttle aggressively, all in one shot.
So, folks, you heard Jeff Burton mention 213 entering turn 3. But then, Stevie, not a whole lot dropped off, maintaining speed of 193, 194 miles an hour through 3 and 4.
Yeah, and I think that's what's lost upon some of these tracks that are so fast. Jeff mentioned at the top of the show, Daytona and Talladega, where this series runs restrictor plates. Car around those two tracks really is relatively easy to drive. Now in the pack it's a different story. What these drivers do at restrictor plate tracks is really unreal with the drafting, but when it comes to qualifying single car speeds, this is hands down the fastest track, not only in the end of the backstretch, but in the middle of the corner here to try to run 190 miles an hour. Handling is a major concern.
Fair to say there's speed, Jeff, and then there's Michigan speed.
It'll get your attention, I guarantee you.
And time is moving by pretty quickly. Just 11.5 minutes remaining in the first segment of qualifying. Ryan Blaney has set the pace. Chase Elliott, then Larson, Harvick, Eric Jones, and Truex in 6th.
This lap from Joey Logano.
And this is where he can take the pressure off, or at least reduce it a little bit. We mentioned how important qualifying is. This is only round 1. This isn't going to be the pole. But this 22 seems to just continually have issues either with speed or with just execution during the race. So they need a little bit of a bright spot. And perhaps a good qualifying run could push them into a good run on Sunday.
They had a really good turns 1 and 2. And getting into turn 3, it looked like the car just wiggled a little bit. Just didn't quite have that stability. But still a good lap.
You hear the call, P6 for Joey Logano, who won the pole position for both races here last year. Told you about it earlier. Let's take a look at what happened to the 18 of Kyle Busch in opening practice.
You mentioned how committed you have to be and how much you got to be in the throttle. Well, Kyle Busch, he was in the throttle trying to make lap time and just got out of the groove. And on this racetrack, if you get out of the groove, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I was in the garage actually for practice and looked at this car, examined the tires and wheels that came off. It looked like most of the damage was all body work. It didn't hit the wheels very hard, which then in turn would bend the chassis or the foundation of the car. So looked to me like they just had to straighten some body panels, put some new decals on it. They had a lot of hands on deck, and it looks like at the speed so far that we're seeing that this lap should be good for the 18 of Kyle Busch to get to round 2.
Coming to the line, where does the 18 slot in 9th? Jeff, when you took us around the track earlier, one of the things, you know, we often hear and we talk about it in our commentary and our description, out of the groove and up into the grey, and that's where we saw Kyle go. Well, you did that for us, and you took us up against the safer barrier. It was like driving down the road, down the highway, or one of your local roads that's just been resurfaced, or where they're maybe fixing potholes or something, and there's a little bit of that left over on the side, and you hear it all coming up into your wheel wells. I was surprised at how much was up there.
Yeah, and they cleaned the racetrack. It's just that when the cars get on the racetrack, it pushes all that debris outside of the groove, and the track gets dirtier wherever the cars aren't, the track gets dirtier. And that's right now with this newer surface, the groove has just never gotten widened out. And so when you have the groove not widened out, it just pushes that debris just outside of the groove, and when you miss it, you're in trouble.
You know what David Hobbs calls that, right? He calls that clag.
Clag.
I've had a lot of other drivers call it a lot of things, but none of those that you could sell on TV. I think they only call it that because they know what's coming next, which is if you start hearing that in the wheel wells, I think the wall is the next option.
Yeah, when you have clag, you next have caution. But Tyler Dillon went out his second time out, and he did go a little bit quicker. It moved him up to 31st, but he did find a little bit of speed from his first run. That's the first car to go out on a second time. So maybe 2 or 3 tenths is out there to go get on your second run.
And with 8.5 minutes to go, still have not seen a lap turn from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Paul Menard.
And that's a strategy we see a lot from the 17 car. We see them wait to the end of qualifying sessions to make their run. Fairly consistency. That's something that team believes in, and they do it a lot.
Marty, what you got?
Well, and now the debate is going on the radio with several of the race teams. And Steve, where's that demarcation point where you say, I'm going to go rerun? Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman, all these teams talking right now that they think they're going to have to go back out because, as we've mentioned, second time you go out, you're going to go faster. So you know everybody below the cut line currently is going to go out. So how far up that chart do you go, Steve, thinking, hey, I've got to go rerun one more time?
Yeah, I mean, I have concern all the way up to probably Trevor Bayne or Curious Buescher, who's in the 16th and 17th position, respectively. So, you know, I think that anybody that's run a 36:30 or slower, which is 17th on back, are going to have to run again. But Aric Almirola's lap right here is really going to set the tone on up and down pit road. He has run a 36:50. He's the first car out. Everyone knows he has to run again. If he improves dramatically, it's going to really... because every car that improves bumps you down. So even if you're Austin Dillon at 18th, you can't feel good about that because cars are going to continue to run. So this lap will be watched by everybody on pit road.
And, of course, now the times we're comparing him to Ryan Newman in 24th. So you can see right now in the exit of turn 2, he's about a 1/10 of a second quicker than Ryan Newman.
This is our bat cam down the back straight. First time we've been able to bring it to you since Daytona back in July.
It's hard for it to keep up, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's doing almost 100 miles an hour. Aric Almirola, who had the identical time, has the identical time of Ryan Newman with a 36.543. What's this one yield? He's in the green. Looks like he's going to leapfrog his way up into that top 24 and does so in 21st.
So that's that 2/10 we were talking about. It wasn't quite 2/10, but it's really, really close to 2/10. So if you're looking at the board, you got to, as Steve said it just right, if you ran something in the 20s, you're probably safe, but in the 30s, you're probably not.
Jeff, I'm not a fan of this strategy for Paul Menard and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at a track where tires make so much. Well, now Paul looks like he made an attempt because that green flag actually came up on the scoreboard, so I think he at some point tried to be out there. But, I mean, you don't want to wait any longer than you need to. I think you want to go out and try to get that lap in. You see this lap from Paul Menard is nowhere near good enough to transfer.
Yeah, he'll have a tough time. Remember, you've got to come down pit road, get the engine cooled back off to be able to make a second run with just under 6 minutes left. You could do it, but it's going to be difficult.
So, you see the cut line on the outside looking in. Ryan Newman, David Ragan, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, and Paul Menard. Time running out for this opening segment. Field gets cut to 24.
We discussed restarts. I can't think of anybody that wants a handful of restarts back more than the 24 Chase Elliott, coming off 3 second-place finishes in a row. So it goes all the way back to last year in the June race. Right here, the race was kind of in his control, and he basically just spins the tires. As he spins the tires, makes contact with the 78, gets very loose, unable to complete that race. Then once again in August, same situation. Was the leader of the race, chose to put the 21 behind him, Jeff, and just couldn't get through the gearboxes successfully. Lost the race basically on the restart out of the preferred lane, which is the top lane. And then here in the spring, I actually think he did a nice job in the spring. I think he had about a 5th place car and didn't really have a chance restarting on the bottom.
Yeah, just the bottom is just not where you want to be. And on the 2 restarts that he had control of, he wasn't able to execute. On this restart, he launched very well. It's just he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that's learning. That's getting better. That's understanding your car, understanding how tires are. That's just getting better.
I mean, we were talking with his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, before, and Alan said, Jeff, you know, if we had our time over again, maybe it might have been, you know, he's good friends with Ryan Blaney. He was cool with Ryan being behind him. Maybe it might have been more beneficial to have Brad behind. You know, choose a different line. He said they've learned from it anyway.
Well, that's right. It's easy to second guess when things don't go well, right? When things don't go well, you can step back and learn from it. But here's Ryan Newman. He'll run about a 10th quicker than he ran. That moved him up to 22nd. Now Matt DiBenedetto is on the cut line. Bow out.
Just 3:45 left to play. Ty Dillon is rolling. Daniel Suarez is rolling.
So the 17, much like the 27, he has been on the racetrack once, but things went so awry that he came directly to pit road, didn't complete his lap. So there's a little bit of temperature in the tires. I think that's going to help his lap time, and he's currently trending well into the green. He was just way too loose his first run. That came in, make some adjustments.
Ricky Stenhouse is in the green. He's to the good of almost 4/10 of a second. This is an impressive lap.
Good adjustments from deadly loose to this. It's something that could just be the cycle on tires. That's what makes it so difficult, is it's hard for the fan to accept that he goes all the way to 7th with a car that he didn't even feel he could make a lap with the first time out.
Nice run. Here is the 5 of Kasey Kahne.
Look at this with 250 left. Trying to find a hole to get in, trying to find a clean place on the racetrack is going to become difficult. Everybody's waited as long as they can. Well, now you end up having traffic. You end up having issues getting on the racetrack. So Kasey Kahne currently on the cut line at 24th right now. Pretty solid. If he can have a solid 3 and 4, he'll move himself far enough in to move into round 2.
And that's getting better the further the lap goes on. He's up by 0.2 of a second. So he's buying himself a spot in the second segment. 2:20 left.
Do you see how he didn't even have to use the wall? He didn't run all the way out to the wall in the exit of turn 4. That means his car has exceptional grip to not have to be able to do that. Moved up to 11th.
This is how close it is. Kahne has gone from 24th to 11th with just a couple of tenths of a second improvement. Daniel Suarez, he needs to find something special too.
Just wasn't able to go to that throttle as quick as he needed to be able to lay a lap time down. Let's see if he can adjust and have a better 3 and 4.
He's losing time.
He's being a throttle now.
Yeah, it's not good unless he gets a lot of time over here in 3 and 4.
He's getting it back. He's got it back. He's in the green. Here comes Suarez. Does he make it through to the top 24? Yes, he does. 19th. And he had to work for that.
He did. He got in the throttle when he had to, when he could. And that's, you know, sitting here watching it, when I said he's got to be in the throttle now and he was in the throttle, he was nowhere near being able to do that in 1 and 2. He had to wait until the car went further around the corner. I don't know if he was loose or tight, but the car just wasn't in the racetrack and he couldn't go to that throttle. And when you think about these straights and how long they are, if you wait 3 car lengths to get into the throttle, that speed multiplies down the back straightaway. So if you wait, it's going to kill you that entire length of the back straightaway.
So there's less than a minute to play, and Aric Almirola, who is on the cut line in 24th, the final transfer position, has just left pit road.
And now the concern is you have a driver like Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's 23rd, who's sitting on pit road. So if cars can find some speed, like A.J. Allmendinger right here, that, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has the opportunity to be eliminated out of round 1 with no option to get on the racetrack. It's not going to be A.J. Allmendinger. He's lifted. He's off the pace.
Menard is buried down in 30th position. And McDowell, who is one of those drivers on the outside looking in, currently he was green. It's now gone the other way. He's losing time and speed. 3, 2, 1. Time is up, but laps count.
And Almirola's on the track as well. So if Menard moves or if McDowell moves the cut line, Almirola's out there to protect himself. It looks to me at the moment that neither of these cars are going to do that.
No improvement from Paul Menard. Michael McDowell to the line. It is close, really close. And McDowell will stay on the outside. He does not transfer to the second segment. So there you have it. Aric Almirola did enough in the end. So too did Dale Jr. Top 24 have been confirmed to go through to segment 2, qualifying for the Pure Michigan 400. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. You're watching NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying, presented by Ford Performance. And it was a Ford that set the pace in segment 1 of qualifying. Unfortunately for the drivers you see on your screen, they aren't going any further today in qualifying. They did not make that top 24 cut. Jeff, Steve, who really catches your eye in this group?
Well, I think you could start at the top there. Ryan Newman of the 31 car, Richard Childress Racing, while they do have a couple cars with wins, have been very vocal about trying to find speed before the playoffs. It looks to me like that search continues.
So 25 through 39, those positions confirmed for this weekend's Pure Michigan 400.
I find what's interesting now for the next round is a big cloud has come over the speedway, and will the speeds pick up with a cooler racetrack? Marty.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's wishing he had that cloud. I was watching your lap. Seemed like 1 and 2 was pretty good. Did you lose the time in 3 and 4 on that lap, Ryan?
Got really tight in 3 and 4. Just off in a little bit of speed, but just didn't get 3 and 4 quite right and missed it by a little bit. We definitely shouldn't be back here trying to make the top 24. So got some work to do with the Velveeta Shells and Sheets Chevrolet, and 2 more practices tomorrow to work it out.
Talked to Luke Lambert, your crew chief, and he said you unloaded pretty far off. Do you feel like you've gotten better, though, throughout the day?
We did get better, but we're not where we need to be. I mean, it's a challenge. This racetrack's been a challenge here for us this year, so definitely know that we got the parts and pieces, and most importantly, the people to fix it. We just got to do it.
Yeah. And Steve, you mentioned, you know, these RCR cars certainly have to find a little bit of speed, and behind, no doubt, Friday here in Michigan.
Well, and Lee, finding speed sounds easy, but what do we mean by that? It's aerodynamic, finding a little more downforce, horsepower, finding a little more horsepower. Or as a crew chief, once you get to the racetrack, the combination of two. Getting the car set up the right way to accent what you have working for you, the horsepower and your downforce.
It's Go Fast Day in Michigan. Who's going to make the top 12? We'll answer that question when we come back. And if you have never been to this area of Michigan, it is just beautiful with all of the various lakes around the Irish Hills area of Michigan. Stevie, you were out last night cycling around some of these lakes. How nice was it?
It was spectacular, but the problem is every time I rolled by a guy with a fire and a cooler and a grill, I wondered why I was on a bike.
So did he.
All right, who is going to, well, we're not at this phase yet of awarding the pole winner here in Michigan, but we are paring the field down in half from 24 to 12.
And this is the big cut, and you saw the disappointment of Ryan Newman, and you heard it. What did he say? We shouldn't be back here trying to make the top 24. And I think all the funded teams, all the big teams, the assumption is they should easily run inside the top 24 with just the equipment that they have. Nothing is easy about making the top 12. Jeff, I know you battled this type of qualifying. I battled it. To make the final 12 at any track is a big step, and it's going to be, as you see here, busy very quickly to try to get out here.
Do you think they're keen to get out?
Yeah. I mean, the track is completely shaded. There's one little spot right in the middle of 3 and 4 that doesn't have shade on it, but the rest of it is 100% shaded, and I think they all want to try to get this run in while that cloud is here, Marty.
It's a free-for-all, Jeff. Everybody wanting to get on the track as soon as they could. In fact, Matt Kenseth's teams, Brad Keselowski team, all talked about having the advantage of being at the head end of pit road, so they can take advantage of this. The one thing, though, that everybody's not thinking about, this is a fairly large cloud. I think it's going to be here for this entire 9.5 minutes that we have left in this session.
Well, then I want to go last, because the longer the cloud is here, the cooler the track gets.
And guess who that last will be? Daniel Suarez has not moved from the pit stall in the 19th. We'll monitor that. Meanwhile, as was the case in the first segment of qualifying, Matt Kenseth, first car on track.
Steve, clearly it looks like to me the goal for every driver is to run that second group in between the second and the third seam. That appears to be where they, once they get into the corner and get settled right there, left side tires just above that seam, trying to run through the middle of the corner in that area. But everybody runs there.
Well, I was shocked, even though as this place is advertised as consistent banking from top to bottom, Lee, you and I were both somewhat shocked about how much flatter that bottom paving seam was. When we pulled down right against the white line, it basically felt like it decreased 2 or 3 degrees from
Yep. That lap Kenseth just ran. He ran a 36.15, and he just went a 35.72 in the second session. So he definitely picked up.
Nothing wrong with the 18 of Kyle Busch. He goes to the top with, and now Eric Jones is the first to go into the 202-mile-an-hour bracket in this session, and now the 4 eclipses that. Harvick, the fast man. Larson jumps to second. Jones has been relegated to third. Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the 9th quickest lap. Here's Truex.
I think the one thing about going early is that it gives you a chance to go again. And I think with these tires, you can go out a third time and still gain a little bit of speed, or at least maintain speed and make a change to your car to make your car better. So I would rather go late if I knew my car was going to be good, but if I was concerned that my car needed some changes, I want to go early to better make that second run.
There's a nice little intra team battle going on up here where we are in the NBC Sports booth. Steve thinks the pole time is going to be a 35.1. Jeff thinks it's going to be a 35.2. You think there's another 3 4/10 of a second in this track?
I've learned to never trust a driver.
Your response, Jeff.
Right. What I've learned is that you can't underestimate these teams and drivers. They find a way to find speed when you wonder, where is it? And they always seem to find a way.
And we're going to see right here, Ryan Blaney is trending, and he gets a great run off turn 4 every time. And he's going to get down sub 35.50 at a 44 right there. So he ran basically 2.5 tenths faster. So another 2.5 tenths, and he'll be right around where Jeff thinks the pole speed could come from.
First car in qualifying to get into the 203-mile-an-hour bracket. Remember, average lap speed. It is incredible here in Michigan. The 41 of Kurt Busch.
Now, as you see on the left side of your screen, now that 16 cars have taken time, that has established a cut line just below Keselowski, just in front of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
And guys, guess what? See that shade on the sun on the racetrack? Clouds starting to go away, so might have been wise to go early, Steve. I'm not a weather guy. I'm just telling you what I hear on the radio. So that cloud seems to be going away from the racetrack, though.
Well, don't tell Clint Boyer, because he's trending in the green. See if this 14 car can continue to come the right way off the front stretch. It looks like he's going to eliminate Brad Keselowski from the top 12.
Clint Boyer jumps to 10th. Casey Kane's lap was not good enough to make any decent impression, and Kane is buried down in 20th. Here's Daniel Suarez, who was the last car to leave pit road. As Marty pointed out, with the physical conditions changing here, with the track now bathed in sunshine, did Suarez leave it too long, too late?
Yeah, and even Boyer, who's 10th right now, really, if he needs to make another run, will he have time with only 5 minutes left? He wanted to go late, but will it bite you?
15th for Daniel Suarez.
It's amazing how much noise the cars make, even when you shut the engine off, the tires rolling, the car going through the air. Because remember, you shut the car off, you're still running 180 miles an hour.
Good start for Aric Almirola. Now it's lost a little bit. Just over a 10th off. Can he try and claw this back? It's going the wrong way for the driver of the 43. 0.2 of a second off now.
Just remember, Almirola had to run multiple times in that first session. You have to ask yourself, has that hurt his attempt here? You know, have the tires finally given up a little bit of tire life?
And that's a big chunk. Almost half a second for Aric Almirola. That's why he's down in 23rd position. It's Jamie McMurray for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates on the cut line, the 12th and final driver.
And look at Jimmy Johnson down in the 21st position. He's going ahead and climbing out even with 4 minutes left. I think this is that moment where you have to start on these tires. So if you don't feel you can improve and get up into the top 12, perhaps you're not even going to want to put another lap on the tires, save the tires for the race. The other part is you see right here on the 2 of Brad Keselowski, these hoses that come out of the hood and they come back here back to a cool down unit. Basically, that's running cool water through the watering system. It can get through the radiator and some of the water lines, but it only can cool the mass of the engine so quickly. And some of these engine builders actually won't allow you just to put ice to it right away. You kind of start with lukewarm water and then work your way down so you don't shock the system. So, you know, the engine builders, we talk about how big, fast, sweeping this 2-mile racetrack is. Well, this has always been known as a horsepower racetrack, Jeff. The engine builders are pushing the limits. As much as your ego gets bruised for not qualifying well, you can't risk hurting the engine trying to cool it too quickly.
Yeah, and the problem with it is you don't know you hurt it. You know, that
You'll find out Sunday.
That's right, and that's even with practice tomorrow. You don't terminally injure the engine right now. It injures it a small amount, and then the more you run, the worse it gets, and then on Sunday you have a problem.
Here's Marty Snyder.
And you see Trevor Bayne does not have a time on the bottom left of your screen, just now rolling out. Checked in with Matt Puccia, his crew chief. I asked him why they were waiting so late. He said, well, we tried to make a run, but Trevor did not feel good about it once, and he completely missed the corner, so he just shut it down, came back. So they had to cool down the engine, so now the track is heated up a little bit, and the 6 car has to make his only attempt here in round 2. 2.5 minutes left. We'll see if we can put it in the top 12 here.
Well, Jeff, you and I had this conversation about this multi-round qualifying. While I feel it perhaps is more difficult to sit on the pole because you have to continue to advance and make your run on old tires, as a driver, you get at least multiple chances to make a lap, where before, years ago in single car, you make one mistake, miss one corner, and that's it. That's the speed you're relegated to.
Yeah, that's right. It's a smart move. Trevor Bayne, understanding the rules, understanding how this process works. You know, when you drive into turn one and it doesn't stick, it's no sense in running. You have time to come back, cool the engine down. You don't hurt your tires. You have time to do it. So take advantage of the system that you have.
Spare a thought for Trevor Bayne and the way that race day began for him with that brake issue at Watkins Glen. He's happy to come to the Irish Hills of Michigan, though. He's had a top 10 result here in Cup Series competition. And just 1.5 minutes remain in the second segment of qualifying. Top 12 will be determined to run for pole.
It doesn't appear that Austin Dillon's going to be quick enough to move himself into top 12, nor Trevor Bayne. So what do you do if you're Jamie McMurray? 12th on the board.
Well, I think at this point you're going to have to go to the racetrack, because as Keselowski joins the racetrack, you have to, I think, assume that he's going to go faster even if he doesn't. So Jamie McMurray, you see the green chip next to his number. That tells me that he's also joining the racetrack for another lap.
This is a track where Brad Keselowski's father, his uncle, have raced. And this is a track that's eluded the driver of the two as far as the trip to victory lane in Cup.
Look at the lap that Brad Keselowski is running currently. He's well faster than McMurray. Almost 0.2 of a second as he heads down the back straightaway. I'd have to be a little concerned if I'm Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 as I start to see this speed on the 11th. If Keselowski and McMurray both improve, Truex could be out.
Brad Keselowski coming to the line. Only 16 seconds left in the session. Everybody in the green. Look at this. Keselowski jumps from 13th to 2nd to guarantee himself a spot in the final phase of qualifying.
Truex on the cut line.
I think Truex is in trouble. With this many cars in the green, the 78 will be eliminated here in the second round.
Jamie McMurray responded. Great work from the Ganassi group. Let's see what this does for Jamie. He's in 13th. He jumps to 10th.
Bowyer moves to the cut line.
No such luck for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's in 19th. He'll be eliminated in this.
Oh, and Ricky Stenhouse was trending to the green and basically just the car moved up out of the groove in the middle of 3 and 4 up to the gray, as you talked about earlier, and he had the lift, saving Bowyer. Bowyer looked like he was doomed to definitely be eliminated, but he saved by turns 3 and 4 and the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Kurt Busch will not make the cut either in the 41. 15th for Kurt. So, second segment of qualifying here in Michigan, topped by the Wood Brothers Ford of Ryan Blaney. Welcome back. This is Monster Energy Cup Series practice from Michigan International Speedway. 2 rounds of qualifying down, 1 to go, and of course the most important one to determine who sits on the pole position. Hey Steve, here are the drivers who didn't quite make the cut, and there's some big names there.
Yeah, shocking for the 78 Martin Truex Jr. Phoenix, the only other non-restrictor plate track that the 78 hasn't advanced to round 3.
And Daniel Suarez is 16th. I expect, you know, if this is like every other week, he'll improve as the weekend goes on, and he'll probably run fine in the race. And then Jimmy Johnson down in 22nd. I know they have to be disappointed with that.
So, as we said going to the break, Ryan Blaney has swept the first 2 rounds of qualifying. Do you know only 5 times since 3-round qualifying has been implemented, a driver has swept all 3 rounds of qualifying? First time was here in June of 2014 by Kevin Harvick. Can Ryan Blaney do it? He was the pace setter in practice. He's been the pace setter today in the first 2 segments of qualifying. We'll see. Be a nice little story. Wood Brothers have some amazing history here in Michigan. We'll see what the driver of the 21 can do. He has been fast, and only himself for Brad Keselowski in that 203-mile-an-hour bracket. As We welcome you back to qualifying in the Irish Hills of Michigan, ready to go for the final phase. Before we do, let's check in with Marty, who is standing by with the driver. And Marty, he may have been on track to make it.
Yeah, he was so close, and we were following along with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and just lost a little bit in 3 and 4. Was that what happened?
Yeah, you know, I felt like we started this qualifying session. Our Go Bowling Ford was a little bit looser than it was in practice, so I made kind of a half run there the first session and came back in. We tightened it up, did some things we needed to do, and went back out and put our best time of the day down, and felt really good about that. And then, you know, the first run of that second round, felt like I hit 1 and 2 okay and missed 3 and 4 a little bit. And that last run, man, I felt like I nailed 1 and 2 and felt really good. And then, you know, just overcompensated. It was a little bit too tight down in 3 and 4. But after our last qualifying session here at Michigan, definitely happy with starting 14th. Feel like we can race pretty good from there. So we got better track position than we had last time. And tomorrow's National Bowling Day, so get out and go bowling.
You can see the next round beginning, and the good news is Stenhouse has won the hat game. Did you notice that, Lee? That's like Jeff Burton era Roush Racing hat that he had on this weekend.
Well, you should have seen the response, Jeff's face, when he saw Ricky with that hat on. Jeff, you, of course, drove for Jack Roush. Roush Industries is headquartered in Livonia, Michigan, only about an hour from here. How big a deal is it for the Roush Group to be here?
Oh, it's huge. It's there's so many employees that are nearby. They have a suite every race here. They have a suite, sometimes 2 suites. Employees come, take a lot of pride in their company. And yes, the Roush Racing vintage hat looked as big on my head as it looked on his.
It lives on. All right, let's get down to the serious business. Less than 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes for the top 12 to determine who will sit on the pole here. And remember, the driver of the 18, Kyle Busch, in the championship, we're not talking Michigan specific, but in the championship, Busch has been on the pole 4 of the last 5 races, including 3 in a row. He's going to have to try and leapfrog the 21 as we put the spotlight on Matt Kenseth at the moment.
216 miles an hour entering turn 3. We saw 212s, 213s in the first 2 rounds. Speed is picking up here when it's time to try to sit on the pole.
An average lap speed of 202.5 miles an hour. Kenseth sets the pace.
He love you, Crucci, when you're the first guy by the line. He says, right now you're on the pole.
Hey, you're the fastest guy so far.
And
Keselowski knocked him off.
Second, yep.
Harvick to second. Logano needing a big run. Good start to the weekend. Here you go, Diff. You'll wonder if he could lead all 3 sessions.
Let's take a ride.
That didn't look very good. No, that's not going to do it. You saw that wiggle, went up the racetrack, then he had to come out of the throttle the second time. He knows right now he's done. The only thing he's trying to do is make 3 and 4 the best it can possibly be. He knows he's not going to sit on the pole.
For Ryan Blaney. How about the 18 of Kyle Busch as Brad Keselowski sets the pace. P5 for Kyle. Chase Elliott coming to the line. 5th. Jamie McMurray was reasonably pleased with his car this morning.
Good turns 1 and 2. A half a tenth down, but that can be made up in 3 and 4 if he gets a good set of corners down there.
Losing a little bit, losing a little more. A 10th off at the moment.
Lost a lot of time getting into turn 3 and is just not making it back on exit. This is going to put him somewhere just outside the top 5, I believe.
7th for Jamie McMurray. And Steve, interesting to hear your analysis there at turn 3. Jamie told me before this session that is the one turn on this track that kind of has his number a little bit.
I want to tell you what I'm really impressed with is obviously Keselowski. It's not over yet, but it looks like no one else is going to run. So Keselowski is most likely going to be the pole sitter. Teammate Joey Logano on the outside pole. But look at everybody that stepped up. All the guys that are racing for this last spot of championship battle: Clint Bowyer, Jamie McMurray, Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano. All 5 of those teams stepped up and made it in the round of 12, in the round of 3. The third round is what I'm trying to say.
So no Ryan Blaney pole. The man from Michigan, Brad Keselowski. This is so important to him. This event twice a year. And to do what he has done and grab the fastest pole of 2017 with an average lap speed of 203 miles an hour. What an incredible run. So as Steve and Jeff pointed out, nobody was going to make a second run in this. The time is just grinding and winding down. And we wait for it to be official. Time is up. The pole position for the August Michigan race belongs to Brad Keselowski. How important is this? We'll hear from him when we come back. Take a listen.
Good job.
I grew up in Rochester Hills, Michigan, which is a suburb 30 minutes north of Detroit. My family had a small race shop. Grandfather before them had owned gas stations, and my dad and uncle took that over when they got of age, and that's all they did. They put roll cages in race cars and helped the local guy hang a body on his street stock or his late model. All those type of odd jobs around motorsports, they did out of a small little shop in Michigan.
As we welcome you back to NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying, the campground on the infield here at Michigan International Speedway, and it's presented by Ford Performance. And there's a Ford sitting on the pole. In fact, 1, 2, and 3 are all Fords. How about drivers from Michigan and their respective Cup wins? Brad Keselowski there sits atop. Phil Parsons is actually here for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race on that list as well. Time to get to Marty with our pole man.
And walking along with his teammate Joey Logano, and this one's important to Brad Keselowski, and winning the pole in his home state. Gave me a big hug afterwards. So, hey, most significant pole in your career, Brad, winning it here at your home racetrack. You've never won the pole here before.
It feels really good. You know, it kind of feels like the first time, but this is a track that, you know, probably isn't my best track. Even though it's my hometown track, I'm not sure how that all works out, but you know, the team did a great job, made some adjustments in the rounds and tuned it up and got to where I was really comfortable and laid down a heck of a lap. My teammate Ryan Blaney was super fast. I'm not sure what happened on his run, but I'm really happy for my team and for the effort that they put in to get these kinds of results and to find some speed this week. Our team group's been working really hard on that, and there's a lot of other pieces going on too, you know, with you know, inspections changing, but we're happy and proud to have some speed this weekend and to be on a pole at Michigan. Gosh, that feels so good.
I know it's important to you, but talk about the blue ovals. 1, 2, 3 for Ford. You've been saying the Toyotas have had the advantage lately. Where did you guys find something this weekend?
Well, I think they probably still do. We'll see, you know, probably 2 weeks from now. I think there's a looming threat that NASCAR is probably going to take everybody's cars this weekend, and maybe they put a little in the bag. So we'll see. The next few weeks will really tell the whole story.
What about all those fans behind pit road? I know it's cool for you to get that Michigan love, isn't it? You had hundreds of fans wanting autographs from you.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it always means more when you can have people to enjoy your success with, whether it be, you know, friends, family, and I got a lot of friends here in Michigan, a lot of great fans too.
You can tell the hometown crowd very proud of their hometown boy, Brad Keselowski, on the pole here at Michigan.
Well, Marty mentioned that Brad was pretty pumped and gave him a hug afterwards when he first got out of the car. Take a look. Easy with him, Brad, easy.
Yeah, he's old.
Well, that was on a lighthearted note. Not so lighthearted was what happened to this man, Ryan Blaney, the pace setter all day until the third and final segment.
You can see it doesn't look like a whole lot, but at these speeds, just a little bit of a wiggle. So you can see right there, the car gets loose, in and out of the throttle, in and out of the throttle. Just could not carry speed through 1 and 2. Reinforced speed looked good, just wasn't able to carry it through 1 and 2.
Remember that stat that we told you at the top of the broadcast? 5 of the last 8 races here at Michigan International, the pole sitter has gone on to win. Remember, Brad Keselowski has never won at this track. We'll see. A guy who needs a win is Joey Logano, right, Marty?
Yeah, how about Team Penske? 1-2 here at Michigan this afternoon. Surprised you a little bit, the speed that you guys have brought this weekend, Joey?
Yeah, good. Good,
right?
Yes. It seems like it. Team Penske's brought some speed, even at 21, and really most of the Fords look pretty good here. So that's a good sign. I think we are really good in race trim too. So I feel good about it. Obviously, a good starting spot and a good pit stall is going to be key. And hopefully we can just maintain that track position. And we need to win. So this is a good start.
You mentioned needing a win. How do you not let that pressure get to you and just focus on what is trying to get the 22 team better so that win comes?
I love the pressure.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm all right with pressure.
A must-win situation, you love it.
It's good. Well, I'd rather be in, but the pressure part's okay. You got to get used to that. That's what the sport is, especially during the playoffs. So we just got to turn into playoff mode a little bit earlier than everybody else to get in. But so far, like I said, so far so good, and we'll just get to show Pennzoil Ford, do our thing, and like I said, execute our race. If we have speed, it makes life a lot easier, kind of like the old days. And I say the old days, like earlier this year.
Yeah, right.
And make something happen here.
I know you were thinking Bristol might be your best shot in these final couple races, but feeling better about this weekend now?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, you don't know what you're going to have before you unload, and it seems like we've definitely picked up a little bit. So hopefully it continues through practice tomorrow. We can hopefully find a couple more things. The field usually gets closer as there's more practice time. The field makes more adjustments and gets a little bit tighter. So hopefully we can make some good adjustments, maintain the speed that we got in our car, and race my teammates to the win.
All right, Lee, as you can mention, a lot of smiles in the Team Penske camp, and when the boss is around, smiles are a good thing, right?
Absolutely, and remember that Roger Penske owned this track for a long time, from the early 70s to the late 90s. This is a truly special place for the captain. Let's take a look at where the top 4 drivers will line up for today in the Ford Performance Driver Update, in the race on Sunday, I should say. And 1, 2, and 3. Kevin Harvick grabbing that 3rd spot. So we'll see if that translates to a top performance in Sunday's Pure Michigan 400. We'll have more from the Speedway when we come back. Welcome you back to Michigan. This is how it looks. It's a Ford and Team Penske front row. Brad Keselowski, first pole here in Cup Series competition at his home track. He is pumped, and his teammate needs to be up there as well, so all going well there. It's a Harvick Kenseth, 2nd row. Chase Elliott, one of the favorites for this weekend's race, alongside Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray, and Eric Jones on that 4th row.
Yeah, look at the top 4 rows. How many of those guys need wins?
You have back in row 5, Larson, who runs so well here, and then Denny Hamlin, who's on baby watch. His longtime girlfriend is due. Actually, yesterday was the due date, so it's a question if he's going to hang around all weekend or not. We're just going to have to see.
Ryan Blaney, what could have been in that session? Danica Patrick on the 9th row, along with Austin Dillon.
It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. at row 10.
Jimmy Johnson, row 11. Casey Kane, row 12. So 3 of the Hendrick Motorsports cars basically starting just barely outside the top 20.
It was a frustrating day, not just session, frustrating day for Ryan Newman, who will start on the 13th row on Sunday.
You know, what's amazing is we're looking at all these rows. I'm just going through my mind of all the people on the inside row, even though it's going to be lap 1. We've heard over and over and over, Lee, walking through the garage, how much they don't want to start on the bottom. So all these guys on the inside row, right off the start, are going to start in the lane that no one wants to be in.
So you heard Steve and Jeff say there are drivers there up towards the top who need a win. Well, that brings us to the playoff standings after 22 regular season races. Have a look down towards 13, 14, 15, 16, so on. That grouping there, Steve, this is going to be classic.
Well, and it's the way racing works. As the points tighten, so does the competition. The worst, if you take from Chase Elliott to Joey Logano, the worst qualifier is Clint Bowyer, and he's in 11th. The other 4 guys are all inside the top 10. You have the 22 of Joey Logano on row 1, Matt Kenseth on row 2, Chase Elliott row 3, Jamie McMurray inside row 4. They're all stacked right in there when they drop the green.
And can you imagine if Joey Logano were to win this race? What that would do, that would leave 2 spots open, and the point battle that we would have going to Richmond would be unbelievable. So, and don't put it past them. We have not seen the winning speed from Joey Logano and his team, but we know if they find that speed, that team can execute. They don't mind getting on a different strategy. They don't mind pushing the buttons to make sure they're in the right position at the end of the race using strategy, and Joey Logano can flat get it done. So they are a threat.
And Lee, even though we talk about this because it's NASCAR's fastest track, the speeds are enormous, it's also really probably the most important track for execution because track position is so hard to get, the speeds are so high, the groove can be very narrow, that driving from 15th to 1st is very, very difficult. We're going to see the battle on the restarts, that preferred outside line. So when you get into the top 4, you need to try to hold those positions.
You talk about that preferred outside line. Jeff, take a look at this.
Well, quite simply, everybody wants to be on that outside lane, and you can see Martin Truex Jr. on the bottom. He just cannot carry speed. The outside lane all day long. Watch Kyle Busch in the 18 car on this restart. He's restarted 3rd, but they just go flying by.
Well, and even worse, if you go back 3 rows and look at the car starting in 3rd, 5th, and 7th, they lose 5 or 6 spots every restart through 1 and 2. We cut off on the exit of turn 2, but you can imagine the momentum this inside lane loses. Time after time after time, the outside lane is just a huge advantage. So you're going to have to be good enough to position yourself somehow in that outside lane.
I spoke to Joey Logano earlier this afternoon, and he talked about, you know, running 3rd here in the spring, I believe he said it was, and he said it was all because of restarts. Every restart, he had the last 4 restarts, he was on the outside. He just kept picking up spots on every single restart.
So that last shot you saw there was the one exception to what we've been talking about, where Kyle Larson played it beautifully on the inside of the 18. How so?
Well, he knew how he did it, and that's how he prevents the 24 of Chase Elliott from doing it right there. He comes down and he side drafts. The time that the 42 was successful is right here. You see the 11. He's up against the 42, up, but then he pulls away. Denny Hamlin, he told Marty Snyder that's the mistake he made. He should have stayed in the door of Kyle Larson into turn 1. Now that these guys have a race under their belt with this type of situation, it's going to be interesting to see who makes adjustments.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to stay on that guy's door if you're on the bottom, because if you're right on his door, he's pulling all the air off your spoiler. So you're trying to get away from him so he can't, but then you're messing your entry up into the corner. So either way, you're in trouble.
Back to finish things off. Just a moment.